Women in ministry. That's a fun thing to talk about. I actually think it is. Let's dive into it. Like and subscribe, please and thank you. So I actually do like talking about this one. I think it's fun because for me, this is one of the first things I ever deconstructed. Now, I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't know that word at the time. It's just something that naturally happened for me. And it was really one of the first times I was willing to just ask questions and keep going with them until I came to a solution that made any sense to me. And it all started with that question. Does that make sense? Does it make sense to you? Does it make sense to me? That's one of the most important questions we can be asking as people who are following Jesus, as people of faith, Christians, whatever you want to call yourself. Does that make sense to me? It's a question you've been encouraged not to ask, but I'm going to tell you it's one of the most important things you can ask. And this one really started with that question. Does that make sense? Because here was my experience. My experience was virtually everything I learned I was taught by women. All of my elementary school teachers were women. My Sunday school teachers were women. So everything I knew about the Bible, everything I knew about math, science, how to read, how to write, everything, pretty much everything, I was taught by a woman. Yeah, I had men in my life. Of course I did. But they were not the ones sitting down and opening books with me, giving me assignments, asking the questions, teaching me things. And this continued through middle school and high school. I had a lot of teachers that were women teaching very important things: chemistry, biology, math, history, all of it. And then up into college and beyond, in undergrad, where I was learning how to be a youth pastor. I was studying youth ministry. I had a lot of professors that were women, and they were teaching very important classes, things like theology, New Testament literature, Old Testament literature, Greek, Hebrew, ministry classes that I had. And then even beyond, into grad school, I had women professors that were women teaching accounting, marketing, finance, all of it. So I have all of that, everything, the vast majority of the things that I've learned, I was taught by a woman. And then just my own experience looking around. We have these incredibly powerful women that are doing stuff. They're CEOs and they're therapists and they're counselors and they're leaders. They're political leaders. They're just doing everything that can be done. They're just doing it. And so eventually the question for me became, what is it about the role of a pastor that a man can do that a woman cannot? What is that thing? What is the role? Because we know they can teach. We know that. We've seen that everywhere. We know that they can lead. We've seen them lead organizations and countries. We've seen this. We know that they can counsel people and they can shepherd people and lead people and mentor people and be visit people and care for people. We know that probably better than men can do in the vast majority of cases. We know this. So what was the role? The more I looked at it, the more it seemed like the only thing they can't do is grow a beard. And that's not even required in every denomination. So in the end, I was left saying, that doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. And honestly, I think if you are willing to engage and be honest, I think you'll say it doesn't make sense to me either. Because I can't make any sense of that in any way. But Andy, what about the verses? What about the verses? There's verses. And they say it, and it's clear as day. It is clear, and it's in there, and there's verses. Yes, yeah, there's verses, and the verses are important. All of the verses are very important. I can't really overstate how important the verses, the Bible, the scriptures, all of it, incredibly important to me. Read it just about every day. So I want to do the speed version of this. Lots of people have gone into a lot of depth about this. Whole books have been written about it. Lots of YouTube series, lots of YouTube videos. You can find this in depth. I'm going to do the fast version. Ready? Here it comes. Those verses are found in letters that were written to specific people at specific times for a specific reason, a specific group of people. Paul was addressing a specific group of people, not all women for all of eternity. There are other places where Paul talks about women in leadership and he applauds them for it. He gives, I believe it's Phoebe, is given the letter of Romans to deliver. There are others where he says it's a good thing that they're prophesying and that they're praying, that this is a good thing. He uses the word apostles, I believe, at one point to describe women. We can also look at the life of Jesus who is constantly elevating women. The first person he tells to go and tell people about him is a woman at the well. The first person he talks to is Mary Magdalene after he wakes back up from being dead. Go and tell the disciples is what he says. There's a perfectly sound, valid, reasonable, rational, responsible way to read this and say, you know what? That's not what this is saying. It's not that women cannot teach men. It's not that women cannot be pastors. It's not that they can only have certain roles. It's not what it says. It's just simply not what it says. However, I think there's even a more simple approach. I think we can just look at it and say, you know what? Even if it says that, we can use a little bit of wisdom. We can use the things that we understand now, the things that we've seen now, our experience, our current time, our context, and say, you know what? I disagree. And it's very possible that I have just submit my official application for the Heretic Club. I don't care. We can use some wisdom. That's how we're supposed to do this. We're supposed to read it and think. Two-step process. Read it and think and process it and use that wisdom that we've been given to understand, what is this saying? What is this supposed to say? Does this still apply to me, or was this written to a specific context? The honest truth is, if I could just sit down and have a talk with Paul, I would just tell him, hey, I disagree. You can't imagine what's happening now. CEOs, teachers, political leaders, they can read and write. Women are doing just all of this stuff. And if we're going to tell them that they can't be a pastor because they can't grow a beard, we're the ones who miss out. We're the ones who lose. And finally, I would say, what's the fruit? What is the fruit of this? What is the fruit of this teaching? What's coming out of this? When we say this, when we say, oh, women can't be pastors, women can't be leaders in the church, women can't teach, what do we get? What's happening? What's the fruit of that? I can tell you what it is we have people who have gifts and abilities and skills and talents that are not getting to use them. And then we have men who are stepping up without those gifts, without those talents, without those abilities, and saying, I'm supposed to be the one doing it. We all lose. That's the fruit. We all lose. And listen, man, if you're someone that would say, well, it's tricky and it's complicated, but the Bible says it, and therefore that's what I believe. We have to submit to the scriptures, and I believe the things that it says. It's clear as day, and even if it doesn't make sense to me, then that's what I believe. It's all right. You're allowed to believe that. I was taught that that is a noble thing to believe growing up. I was taught that you'd be applauded for saying, you know what, the world disagrees, but I stick with the Bible. That's fine. You're allowed to believe that. I don't care if you believe that. That's fine. But it does sound to me like you're ready for a little deconstruction. It does sound to me like you have questions. And I would encourage you to ask those questions. Does this make sense to you? Keep asking the questions. All of the questions. Keep going. Just keep asking them. It's fine. You're just asking questions. You're allowed to do that. You are allowed to do that. So guys, there we have it. I'm not even sure how this came up, but somehow I found myself writing about it, and now I am sharing it with you. I hope you enjoyed this. To answer the question formally, yeah, I think women can be pastors. And honestly, I wish a lot more did. There are plenty of ways to arrive at that conclusion, but honestly, to me, the biggest one is just simply, it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm good with it. I'm good with that. Like and subscribe, click follow, leave a comment, all of those nice things. I'll talk to you soon.